Just getting Mike on the call. Any second now. So Mike's been my lawyer. Here we go. I hear him.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, one sec.
Okay.
Mike, go ahead and get off and then come on back again. There we go. There he is.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
So again, guys, the 3 biggest mistakes copywriters make that could destroy their business or worse. Mike, so you've been my lawyer for about over 10 years. We've known each other even longer. Why don't you give everybody a little intro about yourself and how you get started with internet law?
Okay. I started out in college as a computer programmer. That was what I wanted to major in. And then I had a Monday through Friday 7:40 class. It was trigonometry and calculus. Decided it wasn't for me. But I still went ahead and stayed around with computers. And when I went to law school and got out, it was back in 1994. Somebody came to me and said, "I've got something here where I want to pay to be part of the cyber mall." They had things called J Mall, I Mall, that type of thing at the time, where you would pay about $5,000 to have a simple HTML web page within inside of a cyber mall. And those were my first clients with regards to internet, and I've been doing it ever since. So we're looking at almost 30 years now.
Awesome. So let's get started, guys. You can ask questions, so fire away. We'll do that at the end. But Mike, why don't you go ahead and get started with these 3 biggest mistakes?
Okay, the 3 biggest mistakes, we'll go through them all, but I'll identify them at the beginning. The first one is the misuse of swipe files. The second one is ownership of copy, who actually owns it, and some alternatives to that. And finally, but last, and certainly not least, will be making claims within the copy itself. Let's go ahead and get started with swipe files. As far as I'm concerned, that is one of the most misused things by copywriters, particularly newbie copywriters. They all hear you can go out there and find the John Caples, the Gary Halberts, the Gary Bensavingas, go out there and find the greats, write their copy, grab swipe files from them, and basically just rip them off and resell the work as your own, because that's the easy way to do things. Find and replace. Instead of selling widget A, you're selling widget B here, and that's all you do. Well, the problem with that is it's intellectual property theft. Somebody owns the copyrights to all of that sales copy. It may have been the copywriter themselves. It may be the copywriter's estate if they're deceased. It may be the client that the copy was paid, the client that paid for the copy to begin with. But just because you have access online, for example, at a swipe file site, doesn't mean that you actually have the rights to rip this off and go use it yourself and sell it to other clients, even in a modified fashion. Like I said, somebody owns the copyright to it, and it's an infringement if you go out there and use it without permission. Now, people are like, well, it's just fair use. No, it's not. Fair use requires a lot more than that, and it's a fact-specific thing. For example, courts will look at it and say, what new value has been added? And it's simply swapping out products or services and sales copy is not adding value. It's just ripping somebody off and putting something else in and trying to sell it using the creative work of the original copywriter. One of the elements that you look at as well is it used for a commercial purpose or not? If something's being used for educational purposes to show somebody, for example, an elementary school teacher goes out and grabs something, takes a look at it, and editorializes and shows students how to do something with it, that's not for profit, that's for an educational thing. If you're a professional copywriter and you're going out there and grabbing this and trying to make money, either directly or indirectly by either selling to a client or selling your own products and services with it, at that point in time, you really cross the line into commercial purposes, and courts really look at that and say, no, it's not fair to use in any way, shape, or form. You're ripping these people off without permission. So I guess the question is then, what good are swap files? Well, one is educating yourself how to be a better copywriter, and you can do that without ripping off the copywriters you're learning from. But more importantly, it's for idea creation, particularly for particular markets. They laughed when I said I could play the piano, but when I sat down and began to play, if you're targeting a market for musical instruments or online musical courses, you'd probably want to review the Cable's ad and see, what could you use for the ideas and concepts behind it in writing your own copy for those markets. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Anything else about swipe files you'd like to know about right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Have you seen any, egregious examples? And what would you say about the mindset of someone who's like, well, I'm a small fry, I'm not going to get caught?
These are not going to be playing around. For example, I know of the owner of some top copywriting sales letters, some of the best ones that I've ever produced, and they've registered the copyrights individually with the U.S. Copyright Office for each one of those sales letters. So if you're ripping those off, it's, for willful infringement, it's up to $150,000 per infringement, plus the attorney's fees and court costs. And that's for each one of those you rip off. So, I would strongly recommend not doing that, because there are people out there for the particularly successful copy that are actually out there actively looking, seeing who's trying to rip them off and trying to steal their intellectual property. Will it happen to you? Possibly not. But you never know. I mean, it doesn't take much to go online and figure out things. If I wanted to, for example, I could take a popular copywriting swipe file, if I wanted to, and take a look at it and say, I'm going to plug it into something like Copyscape and go to the Copyscape site and pull up and see who's ripping it off. And it wouldn't take much to figure out very quickly, whether big, large, or otherwise, who is actually ripping off online and posting comparable copy that they've been too lazy to actually go out and do their own work.
And is there any difference for a copywriter between sales letters and emails? Are they a little less in the clear if it's emails versus a sales letter?
No, the copyright attaches whether or not you've actually filed a registration out with the U.S. Copyright Office. When it's created and published, it's actually owned by the person who's published it, unless it's a work for hire, then it's whoever actually hired him to do it at the point in time. But the long and short of it is somebody owns that copy. You just can't get an email and say, oh, this is great, I'm going to go out there and go sell my own stuff with it and find and replace the names on it and then go sell it. And we see that all the time, and there's cease and desist, and sometimes some significant money is paid out for it. So it's really not worth the risk, and plus the reputation. Understand, I mean, if you've been around this long enough, particularly with copywriters, you can get a bad name really fast, even if you're just starting out, by ripping off reputable copywriters, because they don't appreciate it. If they're gonna help you out in some way, or even if you buy a course from them, that's one thing. But to flat out steal from them and try to make money off it, who does that? I mean, it's the something for nothing crowd, and unfortunately, it comes back to bite the people who do it.
For sure. You don't get caught until you do.
Yes.
All right, let's go to number 2.
Okay. Ownership of copy. Most people have no idea. If you have a copyright agreement, even if it's written many times, it's a situation where the client says, I paid you, I own everything. Copywriter's like, no, that's not how this works. But if it's not really clear in the copyrighted agreement between the parties, It's really unclear as to who actually owns what. And you really don't want to be in that position if you're a professional copywriter, because you may want to reuse this, and it's done all the time. For recycling copy, even in particularly in non-competitive markets. If you're doing something for, let's say, a client in Australia, and you want to be able to repurpose that in Canada, chances are you want to be able to do that if it's two different markets and they're not overlapping. And just because somebody paid you in Australia doesn't mean that they should be able to prevent you from also earning extra money by repurposing some of that content for a client that happens to be in Canada, the Canadian market instead. But if it's not clear in your your copywriting agreement, then chances are, at a minimum, you've got bad feelings with the client who thinks they own it when they don't. And in the worst situation, you don't own it. You actually got paid the money, and the client owns it. So I would highly recommend making very clear on the front end what exactly the client is getting with this. Now, there are lots of variations of what you can do with this. For example, I know some top copywriters that say, okay, if the client wants to have the exclusive ownership to this, then I'm going to charge them 3 times what I normally would, because I'm going to go out there and reinvent the wheel somewhere else for a new client in a similar market. There's also the ability to go out there and say, okay, maybe you're going to run this client for a period of time, and then you're going to revert it back to me. So I can either license it to you, or I can transfer the ownership. But when you're done running the ads on it, it reverts back. And as a copywriter, I can then reuse it for something else, for a different client, when you're done running the advertisements yourself. So that you can do a combination of licensing, a transfer of ownership, and have it revert back. There's many ways of doing this, but it needs to be clear in your copyright agreement exactly what the client is getting, not just the sales copy, but what rights to the sales copy. And ideally, as a copywriter, you want to give away as few rights as possible, unless you're getting paid a premium for the extra rights that the client is willing to pay for. Does that make sense?
Definitely.
Okay.
I have a follow-up question or I can wait till a little bit later.
Sure, go for it.
Yeah, so I know you helped me with one particular client with the contract, because someone that actually worked for them actually like kind of had some reservations, and I thought to myself, well, why are you working with them? And you wrote the contract, you made it airtight so I couldn't get screwed, and they ended up not wanting to sign it, which was actually a good sign that my inside source was correct. But are you currently taking clients if they'd like you to go over contracts and stuff like that?
Yeah, I do. I do prepare copywriting agreement copywriter agreements for copywriters that favor the copywriter, and whether on a freelance basis for single projects, whether for multiple projects for an ongoing basis for a single client, or if it's an employment agreement, typically I'm reviewing the employment agreement that comes in from the other side and see whether it's good or not. Now, I also do sales copy, legal compliance reviews as well, whether it's emails, websites, or just, flat out sales letters. So I do a lot of different things within the copywriting community. It just really depends on what the needs is of the particular copywriter.
Cool. And your website's Mike Young Law, right?
Yeah, MikeYoungLaw.com.
Great. All right. If you have any questions, fire away. Why don't we go ahead and go over to number 3?
Okay. Making claims. One of the big things about making claims is that's a big mistake that we see all the time is copywriters that assume that they can make a claim, particularly with regards to health or money, and just assume that the legalese down at the bottom and the disclaimers are going to take care of whatever claims are there, so there's not going to be any problems whatsoever. They call that an atypical results disclaimer. So, for example, your sales copy could say, you can earn up to $10,000 per month using our info product course, or you can lose up to 30 pounds over the next 2 weeks using our magic weight loss pill. you can't say that in the sales copy and then disclaim down the bottom and assume that everything's protected. Chances are it's not going to be. Does that mean you should never use atypical results disclaimers? No. I actually recommend to clients to use them because there may be somebody that helps with. For example, you may have the Wyoming State Attorney General's office get a complaint, take a look at it and say, well, you made a good faith effort to disclaim, so we're not going to penalize you as much. Or we may decide to just give you a warning letter because you put in a disclaimer. But that's relying upon the good graces of the government, and many government agencies are not accepting the atypical results disclaimers to take away from whatever's promised in the sales letter or implied in the sales letter. For example, the U.S. Federal Trade Commission has said since at least December 1st of 2009, an atypical results disclaimer is not going to be sufficient to be able to protect you from liability from the claims that you're actually making in your sales copy. So I'll give you an example here too. Let's say, for example, you sell a product that's a weight loss product, and you sell it to 10,000 people, and you get 5 glowing testimonials that come in and say, I can't believe it. My life has changed. I lost a total of 150 pounds, 90 pounds, or whatever. You cannot assume that those numbers are accurate. In fact, the other 9,995 who didn't respond after purchasing, the government's going to generally say, we assume that no results came from that, or even negative results. Perhaps they even gained weight after taking your product. So you can't use that and say in the copy, take a look at these 5 people here. We know that you're going to lose weight based upon what we see here from these 5 people who got back to us out of the 10,000 customers that we had. So what do you use? Well, you can use scientific studies. You can, for example, let's say that you're selling a product that says that that if you exercise 30 minutes a day, you're going to have a 20% chance less of having a heart attack in your lifetime. You can put studies like that in if they're reputable scientific studies, and you can imply and let the mental leap be there from the prospect that using your exercise program, your exercise product, can in fact, if being used for that amount of time, reduce the risk of having heart issues, but you can't flat out say that. You cannot say that according to the study, our product X or our service X is going to reduce your chances of having a heart issue. One of the things I like to have my copywriting clients do, if they can, is use case studies. And by that, I mean not only just a blurb testimonial that's accurate, but also goes into the details of what went on here, all the key things that were involved with the results that that client got. So a customer got. So if the copywriters out there, in writing out the copy for something, and it shows, for example, that somebody had a total lifestyle change after using the product or service, you go through there and put everything in it that's involved. For example, if it's a money-making claim and the person's life is much better, they bought themselves a new house, new car, and the rest, but you also discovered they worked 3 jobs in addition to using your money-making income course that you were selling through your sales copy, disclose all of those facts. The fact that there were 3 jobs is part of the deal that made them financially much better, not just the course itself. For example, once again, we'll go to the weight loss thing for health. If somebody's coming through and said, I lost 25 pounds over 3 months using the product, there better be a lengthy thing there showing exactly what they did and how they did it. Were they using a personal trainer? Were they going to the gym 2 hours a day? Were they using a 1,200 calorie diet? Those are all key facts that ought to be put in there. So that the case study is complete. And what I mean by complete, basically what you need to do as far as your sales is concerned when you're making claims like this is to provide enough key facts so that the prospect can make an informed purchase. And when you hide those key facts that somebody would want to know before making the purchase, that's where you start getting into the problems of fraudulent and deceptive trade practices because you didn't let them know what they should have known in order to make a buying decision. Don't hide the ball. Any questions, Jay?
Yeah, I had a follow-up question about specifically make money online. So, say for example, I come up with a product that allegedly helps you get into the promotions tab or the primary tab of Gmail versus the promotions tab or spam. And I have a case study where it kind of mentions that the testimonial person doubled their list in size, had general deliverability work done, made all kinds of improvements, and did a weird trick. It has that, mentioned in a little paragraph, but everywhere on the internet and all throughout the sales letter, you're saying you need to buy this because this person did the one weird trick and made all this money because of the one weird trick.
Part of it is fact intensive when you take a look at this as far as what is good and what is bad, and part of it is just flat out a business judgment risk. You know, I will give you, when we're taking a look at what you're talking about here, as far as the first of all, you're talking about doubling list size. You're not directly saying money, which is a nice thing, because the minute you start saying dollar signs, or euros or whatever you want to say, when you start talking currency, that's where it really starts flagging attention, particularly in the consumer markets. If you're talking about list size, you're indirectly saying that, but you're not really. You're saying, I'm helping you with this, but I'm not saying you're going to be making an extra $10,000. So that's one of the things I like about that. And another thing that I do not know here based upon your scenario, but it is also very important, and we can go into this if you want to at some point in time. But generally speaking, the biggest thing you got to worry about with this when you're doing direct response marketing is the consumer markets. Because you're going to get the poster child out there, the little old widow who was deceived, the unemployed single mother who's relying upon whatever you're selling to make a difference in her life. Those are the types of victims out there, so to speak, that make good fodder both for the media and for the government to go after you and nail you to the wall if you do something wrong. So if you're saying something about doubling list size or list deliverability results and that type of thing, if you're doing this from a B2B standpoint, that pretty much knocks you out of the B2C market and gets you out of the reach of a lot of those consumer protection laws. Are you entirely clear? No, but it gets you probably 95% of the way there. So to the extent you can, I always advise clients of this, if you got to sell a product or service, to the extent you can make that a B2B offer, try to do so.
Got it. Awesome, guys. Any additional questions? Again, Mike just released his book, Bulletproof Your Copywriting. You can see it on the screen, 12 Sales Copy Legal Dangers and How to Avoid Them. The link's on right below Mike, bemclick.com/BYC. That's not an affiliate link. It's just a shortener takes you straight to Amazon. Mike, you recently just published this, right? And why'd you come out with this book right now?
I came out with it because, frankly, another copywriter that we know mutually said, basically, he had suggested like 2 years ago that I do write the book on this, and I just hadn't gotten around to it. A couple of kids intervened. I now have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, so I was busy with a few other matters, playing father again for the first time in a long time. I have a 27-year-old as well, so this is second time around. But the long and short of it was another copywriter had recommended I come out with a book to help copywriters, particularly newer copywriters or copywriters that really have never consulted with legal counsel before, so that they can actually take a look at it and be able to protect themselves without having to pay a bunch of money to a lawyer on the front end. So this is, is this a guarantee that you'll never be sued if you read the book? No, but what it was designed to do is say, if you avoid these 12 mistakes, it's going to significantly reduce the risk that you'll ever have an issue from a legal standpoint.
Awesome, man. What are some of the other things that you cover other than the 3 things we talked about today?
We got lots of things here we cover. We cover things about it, copywriting and registration, things about going into things like advertorials,
Trashing
entity
the competition.
liability. Yeah. Any liability things, liability insurance, Things like material connection disclosures, those get really interesting. It's not just affiliate status that you have to disclose, but how you disclose affiliate status and other material connections as well. For example, if you were trying to sell something and out there and promoting for it and saying it was the next best thing that to slice bread, and you didn't disclose that you're promoting for this other person because you were either one receiving money or because there was some type of relationship that you had with them, a friendship. You could be your brother-in-law. There's lots of different things out there. You need to make. Once again, we get back to that thing of the key material facts in order for an informed purchase decision to be made. So if you're hiding something while promoting, it's not good.
Yeah,
Kim Kardashian comes to mind on that. I don't know if you saw that with the her crypto thing where she ended up, now Kim's trying to become a lawyer. She's out in California, believe it or not. But she's gone through, I think, 1 year of study for it so far. But she was out there piking cryptocurrency and not disclosing she was getting compensated for it. And of the agencies that could come after you, there's lots of them. There's the FDA for health stuff, the Federal Trade Commission for fraudulent deceptive trade practices, and the FTC could have come after her. But in this case, it was the SEC because she was doing things with crypto, and she paid them a $1.2 million fine to make them go away.
Yikes.
So once again, the disclosures need to be there when there's something that's behind. I'll give you here in Texas, there was there's actually a criminal case still that's going off and on with the state attorney general here because he was out there promoting business ventures and not disclosing to those that he was getting to invest in them that he was getting a cut in the back end.
Yikes. You talk about affiliate status. I think people might want to know, even if it's not covered in the book, what are your general recommendations when you have an affiliate program? Because I see that all the time. They're just boilerplate agreements, and there's really not many protections business owners set up when they want affiliates to promote for them.
I would use an affiliate program agreement definitely when you do that. That's designed to protect you. And some of the things that you would want in the affiliate program agreement, for example, would be to prevent them from bad mouthing your name as a technique in order to get people. For example, is Jason Henderson's new widget X a scam? And registering the domain name widgetxscam.com for their fake review that has a link to it that says that in order to buy the product. Those are the types of things that you want to be able to protect against in there, and you also want to make sure that they're not getting you're having control there as far as people who try to game the system, and you usually see them coming in from someplace like Russia or other countries overseas that will try to game the system with fraudulent purchases using stolen credit cards. So you want to make sure that you're protected on that end too, as far as your requirements to pay out when it turns out nothing's happened, but the affiliate that actually came in on the one end was appearing to be reputable, but on the back end was actually running through fraudulent purchases in order to steal affiliate commissions from you.
Wasn't one of the first huge things that you did for one of my clients was defending them from the FTC because of an affiliate?
I was involved with it. I didn't do the actual defense. Let's just say I cooperated to make things better, if that makes sense. If that makes sense.
Right.
Can't go into details for obviously because of attorney-client privilege. But there have been other ones that have been involved with, and and I will tell you right now on the front end, you can do a screening on these affiliates. It's pretty easy when they give you, require, for example, them to give you a link to their main websites, so you have an idea of what they're actually selling out there. If their website says, become a millionaire overnight, millionaireovernight.com probably should not be your affiliate. If it says cancer cures, .com, once again, probably is not a good affiliate for you if you're, for your markets that you're in. You do not need the issues of having them promote for you, because if they're willing to say that, what are they willing to say about your product in order to earn a commission? I will give you an example of a simple Google search we had for the client, where it turned out the person that was applying for the affiliate status turned out they had been banned twice by the FTC from doing marketing. The first time had been in the 1990s for their deceptive offline marketing practices. And then in the early 2000s, they were so scammy online, the FTC came after them with a separate suit and said, you know, you're out of business now and you can no longer do marketing online either. So I guess unless they go to another planet or something, they're supposed to not be marketing anything, period. But a simple Google search revealed both of those bans by the FTC. And that's obviously are two giant red flags of somebody you do not want to have as an affiliate.
Yeah, definitely. I've even seen email deliverability issues come up because of affiliates. They're just running wild, doing anything they want to promote you, and it's like, holy crap! Did you know that they're doing this? They're like, what? Oh my gosh!
And when you Google the names, whatever, you can do things like, if somebody say, let's say John Jones. I don't know who John Jones is here. This is an example. Let's say you put John Jones in there and the word fraud or scam, arrest, anything of that nature in Google, chances are something's going to come up if it's pretty nasty. And it may not even be a lawsuit, but if you say, put that in there and all of a sudden it shows up a Reddit thread of 50 people talking about what a scumbag John Jones is because these are all the different things he's done and cheated people over the years, it may be a pass for you.
Cool. And lastly, other than custom legal forms, you also have legal form generator at bemclick.com/LFG. LFG. I want to talk a little bit about that and the importance of, your basics.
Yes. I mean, this is not the perfect solution for everybody, but this is for those who do not have website legal documents inside and they want to know what to do and they can't afford to pay for custom website legal documents. This is something that can be used on as many sites as a person owns, based upon what they want to invest in, whether they want to invest in a single site license or multi-site license. But basically what it's designed for is a simple way to quickly and easily put together privacy policy, terms and conditions of use, an affiliate program agreement if you have an affiliate program, refund and returns policy, and these have all been updated. This first came out, I guess about 14 years ago, and it's been updated just pretty much about every year. The last update, there's been 2 updates this year. The last update was last month in October. Is it the perfect solution for everybody? No, but it covers a lot of the major risk and responsibilities one has when one is actually running a website. Whether it's a blog, whether it's a traditional business site, etc.
Awesome. Again, guys, the website is on the screen, bemclick.com/LFG. Ton of my clients use this because I can't believe the amount of clients that I get that they don't have any disclaimers, terms and conditions, refund policies, or they're just not very good because they probably just ripped them off from somebody. You see that a lot where, let's actually cover that to end this is, how do you feel about where companies are just, kind of paraphrasing other people's legal documents?
That once again, that works until it doesn't. And I will give you an example of that. There was, I guess it was about 10 years ago, there was an attorney down in Florida, he may be retired now, that was doing custom website legal documents and charging some significant money for it. And what he discovered is somebody who had some technical skills as a coder went out there and created a software program, ripped off all of this attorney's website legal documents, threw them into the software, and was selling them as a $50 info product. So the attorney went out there and basically, 1, put the guy out of business, 2, got a huge apology from the guy from ever doing it and promised never to do anything like it again. And then the attorney went out to every person who bought the software and said, basically pay me $5,000, $10,000 and I'll go away, or I'll sue you for copyright infringement, which is going to be a lot more money.
For sure. All right, Mike. I appreciate it. Your book is amazing. I've read it twice, both times in one sitting. So it's very simple, straight to the point, factual, but in plain English. So I appreciate you putting this out.
Glad to help, Big Jason. And if there are any follow-up questions, feel free to pass them along.
We'll do it once again, guys. Bulletproof your copywriting, 12 sales copy legal dangers and how to avoid them. Mike, you'd recommend actual business owners to get a hold of this, kind of like where, business owners, you really want to be, focused on building your business and hiring copywriters. But it's kind of, sometimes it's good to actually take a copywriting course just so you know what good copywriting looks like. So when you're monitoring your copywriter, would you recommend business owners as well get this?
Yes, I mean, many times a business owner isn't, at least plays amateur copywriter. Typically what happens on the front end is they start doing their own sales copy and realize they're not that good at it, so they actually hire a professional copywriter to do the work for them. But I wouldn't even, as an amateur, if you were trying to do your own, certainly read the book before you try to throw something online. And even if you have a copywriter working for you, it's always a good thing to be able to take a look at this and understand the pros and cons. Particularly if you're wanting to say something online and the copywriter didn't say it, you may discover really quickly why they're not saying it. Even though it may seem like a good idea from a marketing standpoint, on the back end you may be looking at a half dozen lawsuits in the government investigation, and that's why your copywriter decided not to do so. So, it's always a good sign if you actually own anything online, or if you're doing any type of direct response marketing offline, to understand what actually goes on with, professional copywriting, so that you can understand what you can and cannot do for your business.
So if your copywriter says, "Oh, don't worry about it. I've used this in for other clients for 10 years. They've never got caught," you shouldn't take that.
Oh, and maybe you won't get caught either. But if you do get caught, take a look at the, I always say it's a business judgment risk for a lot of these things. What will it cost you if the government comes after you? What will it cost you with one single lawsuit? Whatever gains you think you might be getting off this product, chances are the downside, if you get caught, is going to be far worse from a legal standpoint than any type of profit you're going to make by making that shortcut.
And it's not just immediate monetary damages. You could be looking at, can you see like orders where you can't even do business in that niche anymore?
Yeah, and flat out, I mean, the FTC is, oftentimes as part of a consent is like, you've messed up online, you're disgorging everything, you have to return it, you're paying attorney's fees and court costs on all of this, you're paying a massive fine, and you're refunding all the money to the purchasers of what you sold. And by the way, you're banned either permanently or for X number of years from doing marketing online.
Right. And I know in the book you also talk about, you think you're covered by the state attorney general, but the FTC is not going to really care, right?
That is correct. And there's also 51 attorney generals. So, I mean, the opinion of the California attorney general is going to be very different than the Florida attorney general. They each have their nuances as far as what they're looking at for and what they're not looking for. I'll tell you right now, the last thing you want on your list is having the FTC after you, the California attorney general, and the New York attorney general all looking at you from a consumer protection violation.
Yikes. Well, this has been great. I appreciate it. And we'll talk to you soon. Guys, make sure you get this book.
Glad to help out. Take care.
Bye.